You're listening to Polymatic.media, episode 88 for February 2022. Welcome to the Polymaticast. Hey, John, how's it going?
Pretty good. How about you?
Cold. I'm still in this basement. Cold.
I told you to leave the heat on.
I don't know. I think some people would appreciate the low mumber noise, coming from like a starship or something. But
Well,
when you're editing, you're gonna be like, oh, I hear it.
yeah, but there's also noises on my end. There's some PC noises, so there's some
Uh,
fans going.
yeah, but I mean, like as of late, this house is sort of so I don't have anything else. This house has electric heat, right? I didn't have any gas wired up to it, right? I've been renting this house, and I pay a pretty high electric bill around this time of year. Um, so it was pretty epic high in the last couple of years, surprisingly. And even though during the workday I just go into the office, a house sort of keeps itself to some temperate level
Well, and
upstairs.
and it's kind of cold there right now.
Yeah, and the basement, while there is a couple vents here and they're routing from the heater is sort of designed to the HVAC system is designed to push stuff up and not back into the basement. And the basement is just naturally colder. So it's always a good 10, 12 degrees colder down here in the wintertime. So it's amplified from the outside. And obviously during the summertime, it's humid, right? So dehumidifier, I leave on, but I got to come down here and empty out its bucket. So I mean, this is also why I sort of moved my office out of this room because I didn't like living down here as like as my office space.
Hmm.
Because it's just so the temperature down
Unpleasant.
here is just so amplified all the time. So
Hmm.
yeah. But I know it's cold.
It's
Can't
cold.
win unless I do it upstairs.
Well, and it's
So
cold in your area right now, so.
right, yeah. Last I looked was like 13 degrees Fahrenheit. And it's 20. It says 22 at least on my phone right now
Hmm.
in Fahrenheit. That is. So
So
aside from cold, that's how I'm doing. I'm doing all right.
yeah, how's the
Housing
house
project.
project going?
Yeah, I was just gonna say. So money isn't a place where I can call somebody up and say, okay, move X amount of money into a checking account and then write a check against. Though I realize I don't have the checking account stuff yet, so I gotta go figure that out. So I have to sort of create my paperless stuff and do all those things. Um, and the only thing I really have to do is go through. Everything is sort of like online. Like I can do it on my phone, but just not had any free time through
Hmm.
Monday through Friday, and certainly not within a reasonable hours. Um, I need to kind of go through the pre-approval. So some part of my brain is like use one of these. Like I have an online checking account that I use for something, and I know this particular sort of online bank. Well, I mean they're a real bank, but they have a really good online sort of presence where they have checking accounts that earn interest and things like that. And and so I thought, okay, maybe I'll go try to do pre-approval with them. But then the other part of me is like, well, my bank has a really good FICO score for me, so maybe I'll just do that pre-approval with them. And I just know that that's really kind of a first step. You gotta kind of put on paper where someone certifies how much money they would potentially give you for a home loan. And that makes the rest of the process going forward much easier. So
Hmm.
I just need to have a moment, and my Saturday was sort of auto club related, and then I had to drive 90 miles in one direction to get something repaired, and then drive another 90 miles back, and that was basically the bulk of my night and day basically. So I just haven't had a free moment to have
Hmm.
a free moment to go through, click a little button and give them all my details and go through that process. And whether I talk to a human or I'm just going through some AI interface, no idea. And get a number that's sort of concrete, right, for
Hmm.
X amount of period of time, and then call up a bunch of real estate agents and go hear how they want to, make me pay more. for something that's listed. Oh, that listing number's wrong. It's an extra $40,000, right? I have to go through that sort of headache.
We just added it.
Yeah. Well, the one particular one or two properties that I sort of had in my I bookmarked in Zillow. Zillow is a particular app that you can use in the U.S. And I looked at it and it's like, okay, I want to go look at that one, when I get my ducks in order, and it went up like 20,000, and I know that based on this sort of trend, it's going to go up fast soon. So I need to have that moment where I go in and go to the pre-approval. That's the only stopping part. Then go ahead and find a schedule, and then figure out how to negotiate some time off at work. Because I've pretty busy schedules at work. So I got to go through this whole circus act and get it all sorted out. And so it's progress. I'm in a position where I can make progress. I think that's the summarization on it.
They, I got a letter from my bank for my mortgage,
Mm-hmm.
and this year is like 10 years that I've lived here, and
Mm-hmm.
they and it's like a fixed interest.
Yeah, fixed interest rate. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's gonna end this year, and then I can choose to fix it for another 20 or 10 or 5 or 1 or whatever.
Right.
So I'm probably gonna fix it for 20 because it's at very low rates right now. So
Mm-hmm.
that'll make it much easier.
Yeah, they're and again, I've not talked to the bank. They haven't gone through a pre-approval, but they're about like 3 point. It was maybe a few months ago was lower. They were like somewhere around 3.3 was the average APR. But these are fixed rates. Now I think now they're up to 3.5%.
Percent.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's 1.8 for me.
Oh yeah, that's really good. Well, also
That's for
you're
20 years, and if I do 1 year, it's 1.1 or
oh
something
right,
like that.
okay, yeah. So this is for 30 years. Right.
Yeah.
The
Okay.
default behavior is most people just do it for 30 years.
Yeah.
Inside of 30 years, you could sell your house. You could also refinance it for lower,
Well,
if that's
I
even
got
possible.
the good when I did that 10 years ago. I was like, okay, it was pretty high back then. It was like 4.8 or something.
Mm.
So I was like, yeah, that's gonna be a mess. So
Yeah, I just when I use a big calculator in Zillow, and Zillow will take care of the so to sort of adjust it out, I might do 15% instead of, because I can't get to when things are $500,000 as a starting point. It's kind of tough if you don't just have just a spare 100K sitting around, right, as a first homeowner. And well, I mean, it's just too much. On premise, I'm offended, right? It just seems like there's a situation going on where they're taking advantage.
well, the
And
later you get a house, the you've been renting all that time, so all your rent is going. It's like it's going somewhere,
sure,
but you're
right.
not
Yeah, I
getting anything
understand.
back for
It's
it.
but also in the same respect, based on that, um, yeah, my costs will go up, right? That is definitely a truth. But it becomes an investment, not just an operational cost. Here, it's not like I'm putting really any money into this place. Okay, I did the lights, but like that's not really. I can take those bulbs with me, right? Um, so and yeah, okay, I put an Ecobee on the, better thermostat, but I didn't have to pay for when the HVAC finally died because the house hit age, or I didn't have to pay for the roof problem when it hit age, right?
Yeah.
So I didn't have to pay for those things, and uh, this is surprisingly renting for me, and I'm renting from a person, not a company, so my rent has not increased since I've been here. Where if I was go rent from like, an apartment complex community or something, then it would just always go up $400 every year or some kind of BS.
Yeah.
And this has been more affordable situation. What it doesn't do is it doesn't show that it doesn't affect my credit history. It doesn't uh, it doesn't mean that 20 years later I have X amount of value I can trade on, right?
Yeah.
So that's what it doesn't mean. Have I paid the remaining mortgage that my landlord owed since college? Yes. At this point, yeah, I think so. Yeah. I mean,
That's
but
pretty
she has
nice.
other costs, right? She has other costs, right? She had to put in, $10,000, $12,000 new HVAC, right? When she had to pay for the $7,000 roofing. There have been other things she had to take care of. So that's
Yeah.
dipped in the cost of it. So
Yeah. So yeah, lots of money things. I'm just happy that it happened now where the interest for me is really low. So it's
hmm
really nice.
that's the best time to, I guess,
Yeah.
do it.
And
Um,
according to the letter, I as soon as I check the thing on the bank application, I it is good. Doesn't matter if the interest changes at the same at somewhere in between
mhm.
when it starts, but that's pretty good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, if I had just gotten my stuff together, um, uh, okay, so if I did it a year ago when I pulled money out, it was less value, but because of the way the 401k was, it was, sort of gaining by equities that they were using with it. So it went up to a reasonable number now, and I had to wait a few years in this process for it to happen. Um, and now I'm sort of at that, and I could have waited a little longer, but then the rates would have gone up, and then the cost of the housing would have gone up. So somewhere in that balance, like you just can't wait it out. And I waited out because I didn't really know what to do. I needed someone who was more informed to give me some guidance. So I found that person. And I'm on a path now. And finding those people, you just don't want to call up some local whatever because you don't really know. I got sort of a recommendation from somebody that I trust. Um, so yeah, so that's what I
When I,
did.
when I went, there was a loan, a mortgage company that arranges mortgages.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and they had a there was a broker nearby that they knew. So there was like, okay, they were like, yeah, we're really happy with these guys, so go check them out. They're probably good. So yeah, I went
Yeah, I
with
mean
them,
the
and
the
they
the, sm- the smaller companies are going to be a much better place than something that's large and has I mean, going to the bank, the advantage of me going to the bank and just trying out and figuring it out is they know what my income is. My FICO score is much higher than any of the credit whatever things are because those guys are. It's not they don't have access to things and no details. They made a business out of being slow and difficult
hmm.
because they want you to pay some extra services to them so that they accredit that. And I won't do that.
But
So
getting someone who's helping you figure out what places are good and who knows what to watch out for, because sometimes there was one house I was looking at, um, that I went to where the homeowner um, built a fireplace
mm-hmm.
in his concrete house. So he built that thing, and it wasn't really according to what you're supposed to be putting in. So there were
Right.
some issues, and there was a whole vacuum system in the house for because one of his kids was allergic to dandruff. So
Okay.
so that was a bit of an issue, and it was like, okay, but the house was pretty good, and he was like a maker, so it made sense. He had a whole workspace on the top floor, and it was really
Mm-hmm.
cool, and I was really enthusiastic about it. And then the after we were gone, he was like, yeah, what did you think of that? Did you notice this problem? I was like, okay, I didn't notice that. And he's like, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Right.
He usually glosses over this. I've been here a couple of times. And then I
Right.
got an email from the owner saying, "Oh, why did you reject it? Blah blah blah." I was like, "Okay, good. I dodged a bullet there."
Yeah.
Just be
Well, so
very
there is.
careful with like
Yeah.
homeowners that improve their own homes.
Yeah. So there's one guy on TikTok. He goes by Inspector AJ. I don't know what state he's from, but he shows examples of old or new, and he shows an example, or someone tags him in something, and he sort of reviews it and gives his response, and he will show sort of houses that have been flipped, uh,
Oh,
and now people are trying to copycat him. But he did list at one point. He listed a website. I did bookmark it at some point. I just had to go dig it up. I think I know where I bookmarked it. But he listed it. Said this is the site that will give you. It's sort of the market for housing inspectors, right, in your local area, and you can plug in your area or whatever it is, and then it will give you who those housing inspectors are and who those rate and what the ratings are, that people gave. And so I just haven't really officiated a process yet, so I haven't gone through that effort yet. But that is definitely, just because it's new construction does not mean it was done well. One of the things that AJ's first thing he does, he is doing some videos like, all right, this is new construction. I said, all right, place your bets that the toilet is loose, and then he sort of just wiggles it, and of course it's loose.
yeah.
And he's like, "Oh, one of the first things we do is we check to see if they sealed the pan on below the bathtub." And he's like, and one of our tests is we put like 2 gallons of water or something like that in it, and then we give it some time to see if there's any leakage. And then of course something that was perfectly new, nice big McMansion, and you could see, he pulled out his infrared camera and he could see the cold spots. And you can see, you don't see it. It's not coming out. It was leaking on the edge of the tiling, but they could see that it was leaking underneath the flooring because they didn't seal it correctly.
Mm.
So it's those kinds of things. Just because you're getting new construction does not mean. I mean, everyone has a different opinion. I saw someone yesterday, or we were just having a conversation about it, and his response is like, "Oh, buy an older house." And I'm like, I mean, there's good and bad things. Yeah, if you buy a house that's a few years older, at least um, sort of all the problems, right? You could the wear is obvious. Um, you buy new, and then it's a whole different kind of scenario, right? So it's not a perfect scenario, and unless you build yourself with people that like you trust, and the builder that you trust, and you have a rapport, and they're gonna not do you dirty, right, and not be quick about it. um Unless you go through all that, you have that position, you can afford going through that. It's a crapshoot
Yeah,
at best.
over here, you have to have like certification for like if you want to sell your house, you have to like certification for energy efficiency and stuff like that.
Hmm.
So if they would have that over there, that would be a lot easier to choose. You know,
Yeah, I mean, there are some makers that I followed. There's one out in Arizona. He goes by Handy Double E Man, no I in there. Um, and he built. I guess he had a business on a lot of land next to his business. So he basically built up. Um, he did his research, and he used some, instead of doing normal like insulation, fiberglass insulation, he used foam blocks as his structure, and use these foam blocks, and then you seal them, and they basically become as hard as like concrete, but they're also much better for insulation. And so he built his house. I mean, a little less than 2,000 square feet. I mean, you looked at it when he built the box, and they sealed it, and they did all this stuff. But he also was part of the process of doing wiring, because that's sort of part of his trade, and doing plumbing, that was sort of part of his trade. And if you look at the plumbing that he did, it's pretty off the hook. And then at the end of the day, while it looks gorgeous and everything, there's only very few rooms. There's a lot of big open space at the bottom, first floor, but it doesn't have like, he's not really utilizing the space, but he did what he wanted. How much
hmm.
did it cost him in comparison to having a builder do it? I don't know. I mean, he got people that he knew by trade, that he trusted, to do welding and do lots of stuff. And his house isn't completely green, but mostly kind of green. Like he's got rain catches and stuff like that happening. Again, he lives in a very arid environment, but he's getting his water from the moisture in the air. You know, so
Are you gonna
it's really
be
interesting what
are you
things
gonna
you
be
can
an
do.
eco hermit somewhere in the?
If I could go green and sort of go off grid, I probably would do it. But in the same respect, I wouldn't. I mean, looking at people who buy containers and basically cut them apart and make houses out of them. I mean, well, that seems really interesting. It seems like a neat idea. I'm not sure that's me.
Hmm.
Um, but I mean, again, if money was not a problem, yeah, I would buy some property somewhere within reasonable relationship to other places, and yeah, I would totally have a well insulated, very green, with solar, and obviously I'm not gonna put rain catches. I mean, you could do that in Pennsylvania. I suppose you could, that'd still be connected to a water line, um,
You'd have to
and
put some filtration on it because of all the stuff that's in the air.
yeah, it's just all the things, but I would totally go solar. Yeah, I would do that, right? And that's the other advantage is some places you go into some communities if they're open to solar, that is a that's that rings as a place of higher interest to me than some places like, oh no, the HOA won't like solar. It's gonna screw up the look of all the houses together. And I'm
Yeah,
like, whatever.
the the homeowners association for my apartment building. They're like, I was like, oh yeah. So one of the companies that, well, I work for a company, and then there's a company above that, and they have a company that does solar panels.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, so maybe I can link you guys, and you can figure it out because we need to get solar at some point because there's too much. We're spending too much on gas and stuff
Hmm.
for heating
Yeah,
and
the
that
one
kind of
place I
stuff.
was looking at is it would have gas coming in the line. Now I could call the company and say, okay, disconnect the gas and go pay for my own electric, right? Put that in eventually at some point, and then could get solar. Now I might move someplace, and they're like, "Oh, we're not gonna do solar," but in the same respect, or we won't allow for solar to happen. But in the same respect, just because I have a 30-year mortgage on the place doesn't mean I have to live there for 30 years, right? I could
Yeah,
just decide to sell it, buy someplace that is more compliant to my interests,
yeah,
you know? But the big goal is to buy my first house and move out and be on my own and have a control of my space and control the cleanliness and how sanitary it is and just have my own space. I walk through my kitchen and it's like a war zone, and it's not me. Right?
mm,
Like there's like 1% that is me of the mess. Everything else is me sort of working around the mess. And and roommate got a his mother lives a good 100 miles away or something like that. So she uh she shipped them or got Amazon to send him some stuff for his birthday, which was a couple weeks ago. And so, he did that, and the box is still sitting on the chair on my dinner table that I can't see. I see 10% of it. I see the ledge. He's got all kinds of crap all over it. And then he's got crap in the chairs and crap on the chairs. And I just like that box has been sitting there for 3 weeks. I hadn't
yep.
opened it up. He opened it up. He looked at it. It's just sitting there. What is he doing with it? And then every once in a while you go, okay, what the hell is going on? And you go and look at it and say, oh, the box is empty. Why don't you just collapse this and put this in the recycle? Like it's not hard, right? And it's just there's a stack of everything everywhere in the house,
Yeah,
and he doesn't come down in the basement because he knows that I sort of have ownership of the space, even though I at this point I have boxes over there and I have cables all along on these particular tables since no one's here anymore. I sort of bundles of XLR type cables and I have my old monitors and stuff. I gotta get junked and okay. So I have my sort of this is my messy space down here. it's messy behind my desk because I have so much crap that is stacked because I have no place to put it, and I don't have any place to like go to a garage and set up racks and put club related swag stuff in the garage, on racks, like no place to organize. And if I did, I my roommate is just sort of bachelor stacking crap all over the
Mm.
place. And so it's just like it's stuff like that, not doing that, not living in a space where that exists, right? Having control over that environment, that all the stuff's really important to me. And so while people are like 2,000 square feet for just you, and I'm just like, yeah, yeah, I need my workspaces, right? Like some people have garages. We were in this particular guy's garage where they were doing some work on my car, and and he's like, you have garages, you have a shop. So
Yeah.
like I need that stuff. I would just won't be doing a carpentry shop. I won't be getting a lathe. Like I won't be doing that. But I will have one office and one bedroom. I will have a spare one for when people are coming in town. I might have another one that's like flex space that I use to set up the recording area, and that will probably be my primary office. Right. Like, and I need maybe one of those spare rooms becomes a small little gym. Maybe I use the basement space and I don't get it finished right away and I make that into a gym. You know, like
Yeah.
as a human, I just need space because I do things. So, so while it doesn't seem like 2,000 square feet for people who think that, all you need is a bathroom, a tiny little kitchen, and a bedroom, yeah, I need a little more than that because I do things, you
Yeah.
know. All right,
So,
we talked for like 40 minutes.
well, you
20
talked for
minutes.
40 minutes.
Yeah. But we had a conversation about the housing stuff. So
Mm.
yeah, I mean, if I could go solar, I would. Um, Honestly, you have to own like 10,000 acres or something in the laws in the U.S. where you can then are don't have to conform to code as much and stuff like that. You don't have to worry about, not saying like, you build evil things, but you don't have to you could do solar and keep your whole property off the grid. Where if I put solar on my house, the utility still gets the bulk of the energy I produce. It's a whole bunch of BS, but this is sort of what's going on. It's better than, being enslaved to the utility directly. So,
Yeah. So, health's going good.
yeah.
Yeah. I had it was 118 this morning. So, and it's been going steady around that mark. So, yeah.
How was how are you handling sort of nutrition now that you're aware of a little more nutrition stuff, or how are you sort of mentally hacking your behaviors?
So that's the thing about me. I when I do something, I don't do something like half. I just do it. So
Right.
there's so I've been living off about 1,200 calories a day now.
Okay.
It's 1,000 to 1,200 a day, and that's not much.
No, it's not
But
much, but
it also cut down on a lot of carbs. So like almost all the carbs are gone.
right.
There's nothing, almost
It's
nothing there.
the tough part is treating your body, convincing your body, and then keeping it regulated to utilize the bank of stuff you've been carrying for a while.
It's
Right.
also the when you do have like something like bread
Mm-hmm.
is not something I like. So it wasn't really a thing that I wanted. But like as soon as I got some, I didn't really like brown bread in the past, but now when I
Mm-hmm.
get it, it's like, yeah, that's great. It's good. It's tasty. So yeah, but like I know that I can't like go binge on that
Mm-hmm.
because that's not great. So
Well, I
I
mean, the story I tell is once they started balancing sort of the chemistry in me, a little bit one supplement plus some other, small meds that I take. Once they started balancing that, pizza was always okay to me, but then all of a sudden it tasted like I now got what everyone else was vibing on the whole time.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, and it's interesting how same taste buds, same body, right? Same system, except now. something turn the right dials correctly, and it's like, yeah, that's more correct. And then all of a sudden, I was like, oh, okay. As an adult, right? As a kid, I did not have an addiction to pizza. So as an adult, I get it now,
Yeah.
right?
I I
So it's just surprising, right? It makes a lot of difference.
yeah. I have to start experimenting with what I can eat
Mm-hmm.
soon. So I cut it down to the bare minimum, and that's about
Mm-hmm.
it. So
I made
I've been
I
living on a very restricted diet for the last month and a half.
I made pasta the other day. So if you go and get dry pasta around here, I have really a particular brand I like.
Oh,
And then
I've cut out all the pastas and stuff. There's
right,
nothing, no rice, no pasta, no nothing.
it's almost like never. Maybe if I eat it, well, let me rephrase that. If I make it, it's a very small percentage of whatever I might intake the whole year. So, uh, there's a particular one that dry pasta. I like their pasta, and there's some alternatives and that's what's mostly on the shelves in the market. And I don't like it as much, and it doesn't impact me as well. Um, Actually, neither of them impact me well. And so I was like, all right, I'm gonna try this Italian brand. And so I went to Amazon because you can't find them in the market, and I went ahead and I ordered a couple of those, and I made some of it, and I was like, well, it's not as conditioned to the taste or of any pasta that I typically like when I make it, but it's still good, and I felt better. I didn't feel like eating pasta. Like you immediately get to a state where okay, that's no more. Stop. Right, your body's not going to handle this well. Um, but no, I was able to eat a fair amount of it without it hitting me hard. And there's something
Yeah,
about I didn't even look at the glycemic index, but like it clearly is. It's just a better, well-made, controlled pasta. That's why it sort of came into the scope of interest. So I was like, all right, I'll buy whatever of this, and I'll try it. I was like, okay. So that's a brand that if I'm going to make pasta at home, that's probably a brand that I'm going to buy, because it's just made from better stuff, and it's made with much more conservative interest of making a better pasta through simpler materials, and the result for me was much better.
yeah.
So,
Did you see
um,
Alex, French guy, cooking
yeah, that's
with his
that's
pasta
exactly it.
stuff?
Yeah, he's going through the pasta stuff. I got some of Mono Grano, um, and so
I'm like, yeah, I really, I would kill for some pizza right now. Like I would go for a pizza and I would eat that whole fucking pizza. And I know that's bad, right? I know, but that's something that's still there, of course. And
and
us
that's
talking
your
about food, I'm like, oh yeah, I would really like some pizza, but I'm not
yeah.
going to do it.
Well, so that becomes those two things, right? There's some chemical stuff that your body might be burning occasionally that had a little of some molecules that remind your brain pizza, 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 that kind of pizza, meatballs, right? Like whatever it is. So there's that, and then there's also the sort of the conditional neurons and habits you have. You feel that your body is like, I want to maintain a certain level of stuff in my body. And I know the last time I had a pizza, I got all those things that I wanted. Right? It doesn't know that don't do that. That's bad for you. What was the result of it? It's just saying, I'm looking for this. I've matched a bunch of impulses to this. Go get me this. Feed me, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like the cat or the dog who's barking for food, right? That's all the impulses. That's all those neurons are. It's just a really base impulse that, if you can encourage some chemistry in your brain to make you go do that, then it will get what it believes it needs. It's not an informed decision. And you, with your brain, you're like, pizza, 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 right? Um,
Pancakes. I really like one of those pancakes from that store.
mm-hmm.
Like, and if I calculate the amount of carbs and the amount of calories that's in it, I can take half one.
So if you take one of them and you divide it up like a pizza, You can take 2 wedges.
I can take half of the.
Yeah, just because you calculate, you should only take a quarter of it. That's what I'm saying. Is you know what's better?
Well, I'll calculate with the rest of the day because I would like figure out what
Right.
I do the
That's
rest of
the
the
other
day.
thing
So
is people rationalize. You know, I've seen my stepbrother and his girlfriend have their cheat day and they go hog wild on things. Oh, Alan's in town. Let's have dinner. And
yeah,
they really step it up. And I'm just like, oh, we never eat this except our once a month cheat day. And I'm like, why don't you just not have a cheat day? Why don't you just suffer it out? Just suffer, right? You suffer for a while, and your body will give up on those impulses, and will find new ones because you will then have replaced those to the neuron-based impulses with something else. You know, and
and what's also funny is that like certain things that weren't that sweet to me have gotten a lot sweeter.
hmm and it's just because that you're flushing out your body full of all the crap.
So I have these.
You're basically power washing your body.
I have unsweetened cranberries. So uh,
hmm
dried, not like freeze dried, but dried
hmm
cranberries, and I have like a couple of them every day or so ish, like two or three or so. It's like, and they're so freaking sweet, and they're unsweetened. I'm like,
hmm
how did this happen? They didn't used to taste like this. So it's like,
You'd be surprised at the psychology that's in your brain.
yeah,
And
probably.
you just have to kind of, like I said, you have to kind of cleanse your system. You know, you want to do it aggressively. And working out and sort of building all those routines helps your body kind of take all the junk that's been in your system and start sort of doing its best to clean it up.
Yeah. Well, did you hear about the Gumroad that did an oopsie?
Yeah, you told me. How
Yeah.
stupid is that?
Yeah, that was
I don't
really
know.
dumb.
Sometimes when CEOs get too confident, right, you got to check yourself.
Yeah. So there's a platform called Gumroad, and they have lots of artists and stuff on there who sell their digital art. And there was somebody who shouted out saying, "Hey, they're going crypto. They're doing NFTs. They're swinging to NFTs." Um, and although that was not true, um, the CEO got upset and started tweeting from their Gumroad account, and they called out a different another Twitter user who said, "Oh, I never bought from Gumroad. I'm happy I'll never be one." And then what he did is responded from the @Gumroad account saying, "Oh, but from the public email you have, we see that you do," which is like that's super super creepy. That's like a thing you do not do. That was so dumb. And ever since then, and there's been some other stuff. He tweeted out some screenshots from private conversations and stuff. It's like you don't do that on the Gumroad account,
hmm
on the main Twitter account. That's a big no no. First of all, and then yeah, and then he did it anyway. I wish he first of all done it on his own account. That would have been less creepy. Second of all, the email stuff that's just dumb. Don't do that. Don't look up somebody's. If you want trying to win an argument, don't go trying blackmail. That's just dumb. Trying to win a fight by uh, proving the other guy wrong by invading somebody's privacy is probably not a good idea. So I've written them because I also sell some stuff through Gumroad on my artist stuff, and I wrote them an email saying, "Hey, this is kind of a breach of trust, and you need a privacy officer, and then all sorts of other crap." I gave them some, you know, input. Although I don't really sell that much, so it's like it's not a lot of money for me. So for me, dumping Gumroad is not really a thing. I don't really care. I could go without having without having income from Gumroad, and it sucks because it was actually starting to ramp up a little bit, which is kind of nice.
Mm-hmm.
But like now I'm in a position where I'm like thinking, yeah, I don't know if I can trust this lot here. What if I don't agree with their terms or something, and they go and dig stuff up and start posting that on their Twitter
Mm-hmm.
account? I mean,
Have you looked at? I don't know if it works in Europe, but a
oh,
lot of
but
companies
Gumroad has probably well, the CEO has probably gone through some laws that they've messed up now, so they probably gonna get a lawsuit because they're in California, and even in California, there's laws against this kind of shit. So
where I was going with that was that Shopify. I don't know if they kind of work in Europe or not, but they have sort of built a sort of an online system that allows you to kind of pay whatever a monthly fee as a business and set up basically, um, you know, basically sell your products. So you
mm-hmm.
kind of sell directly. And I don't know, I think they do. I think that was part of the early stuff, but I've noticed a lot of small vendors utilizing Shopify for their shipping, their tracking, their ordering. And then if you even, I mean, at this point, Shopify has so many people, they just say, oh, well, we'll just make an app, we'll call it Shop. And if you download Shop, like, it basically sort of takes care of you can shop with, you can pay with Shop, right? Which is basically Shopify, sort of PayPal or whatever. So, it again, it sort of real time tracks and does all that stuff for you. And, you get these certain responses and you're like, okay, got it. They're using Shopify. But they offer a kind of a suite of things that help make it easy so that you could provision your own business. You could kind of have your own online presence and all those sort of quality of things that big companies have. And then I think early on people would do is they would then also stock stuff on Amazon. So I know your stuff isn't necessarily um, the most sort of appeals to the family friendly stuff.
I think that's
Um,
an understatement. Yeah.
yeah, but so like I don't know where Amazon might not come in there. But you might have some, and obviously Amazon's not going to be competing with you. But to that point, you might be able to just kind of find a very inexpensive way to roll your own without Gumroad.
Yeah, the problem is that Shopify doesn't allow that stuff, so it's a
Oh,
simple
okay, got
simple
it,
no.
got it.
And
All
that's
right.
kind of the problem. The whole thing with Gumroad, why Gumroad is so cool, and of course, I'm talking about from my perspective here. Um, Gumroad is cool because it takes care of all the VAT stuff. So all the European countries, they have their own VAT numbers and stuff, and all sorts of other crap. And then Gumroad takes care of that, and that's
Mm-hmm.
really cool. And if I were to have like my own shop, I would have to track where everybody's from, and then pay the VAT to that country, and then every single European country by itself, which is a nightmare. And which is also what happens in other locations. So there's other companies that do this, like for example, itch.io, which is basically a Gumroad competitor, but it's mostly for games. But they also do the
Mm-hmm.
same stuff.
Yeah.
And the other cool thing about Gumroad is it allows you to do like physical products. So if I have like um, if I have a book that I want to sell, like I make a couple of them, I make like a 10 or 20, and I put them on Gumroad, and I can sell them as like individual copies, and then people can buy them, and that's
Mm-hmm.
great. But like I think it even does that. Like I would still have like, and then I would have like a lots of tax nightmare stuff that I need to take care of. Like my income from Gumroad is not that much, so it's like very tiny compared to like my paycheck, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's
Right.
not my
Yeah.
job. But there's other people that like where it's like what half their income or something like that, and that's not good. Like
I used to stop myself from doing lots of things, and I still do that. And my father said to me one day about some comment related to that, and he's like, "You know what's better? It's better than nothing." Like Like you think about it, it's like even if it's one wouldn't I mean, and he wasn't really saying, but I took his understanding because my father doesn't say much, ironic. Um and I took his understanding, which was basically, look, even if it's less than your a single one of your paychecks, it's still more than you had before.
Yeah.
Even if you're taxed to death a lot, it's still more than you had before. And if that increases a little bit, it's still more than you had before. And when you think about that, it becomes like, all right, if after all the dust settles, well, that small amount of income might let you buy that new camera that you want,
Hmm.
right? If you're really successful, that means you might be able to put that down payment on a house. If you're super successful, that means you can buy that new car. You could buy the whole house, right?
Yeah.
Like those
So
kinds of things. And sometimes it gets down to a point where, yes, if you manage the nightmare, it could result in something that replaces your job, and then you become somebody of your own control and power, but of your day, that is, and time. But it is still true that even if it's $100 extra a year, after all the stuff, it's still $100 you didn't have before.
yeah, so the so what happened to Gumroad is that they had a somebody had a falling out about NFTs, and
Yeah.
somebody said, "Oh, it's now confirmed that Gumroad is going with NFTs," and then suddenly the CEO went a little bit berserk, and that
Yeah.
was just dumb. And I think
Stupid.
it's I think it's similar to the way that Elon Musk is doing things. Like he just outrageous crap, and he just shouts stuff, calls divers names,
Oh. Oh
uh,
yeah, yeah.
you know.
I think he's certainly gotten to a point where he understands he's getting attacked all the time, and he is now figured out how to just brush it off. Right.
Yeah. Yeah, but like
And
this is
people
something that
will I will say, and I'm not necessarily supporting him for anything specific, but then what happens is people sort of in the ether go to that person. And then it's not that they attack him, it's like, you are full of shit, right? That's sort of the comment about it. It's like, you're full of shit, and here's some proof, right? And Elon doesn't have to dox him or anything like that. Um,
no, but like this was just so dumb. What he
yeah.
did was like super dumb.
Yeah, I mean, that's, again, you know, you have something, he has something to risk, his
Yeah.
business,
Not
right?
not just
And at the end
not
of the
just for
day,
him, but he risked everything for all those people who are on that platform.
right, right.
There's
And
lots of
then
artists
all
on
his
there that
employees,
don't
right?
have a place to go now because
Yeah.
they if they keep using it, they get canceled because they're using Gumroad
Hmm.
by everybody else.
Yeah.
And you know, I'm still
Sometimes the
I'm still
best thing
looking at it
is
like
not
this.
to say anything at all.
What?
So sometimes the best thing to do is not say anything at all.
Yeah, so I made a public. Just said, this is not a great look. Like that's all I said, and I put a
Yeah.
and I sent them an email.
The way
Like,
I would handle it on the podcast when people are being asshats on the in the recording, I said, they go, you're gonna fix it. It's like, no, I let some of your asshattery through. Like, why'd you do that? I said, don't be an asshat during the recording. You're wasting everybody's time being an
hmm,
asshat for a cheap joke. It's like, you don't want to look like a dumbass, then don't come to the show, or don't be a dumbass. And they're like, but I like being a dumbass. It's fun. I said, no, it just makes you look like an asshat. And if that's what you're recording, I'm going to let some of that stuff slip through sometimes. And if you don't want to look like an asshat, then stop being one. And that after a while shut people down, and they stopped doing it. And that also gave us an hour back of our time because collectively they were being asshats, right?
so
And so, like, when you just sort of um, when you call people on their bluff because they think I was going to magically edit them and sound clean and make it nice and perfect because I was at risk of, I'm like, that's why it says the opinions of, right in our warning, it basically says, everyone, what they're expressing is their own opinion, you know? So,
Yeah.
Anyhow.
Well, I know that the CEO is going to have some trouble with his employees this week.
Hmm.
So yeah. Yep. Fun times. So I've got one more thing on my list of things. I am building out a little stream setup in my makerspace. So I've made a bench and I've put cameras on top of it. I bought this really cool overhead arm that I
Yeah, that
can.
looks pretty dope.
Yeah, it's pretty nice. The only problem I have is with lighting, so I probably need to go figure some stuff out there. But
Oh, you can a couple Atom clamps, impact Atom clamps, and then you can get a couple arms or whatever it is. You get a couple LED lights,
I'm
little
currently
Trox
bouncing
panels.
light off the ceiling, so it's
Right,
good. I've got it. I got it figured out, but like I probably need to get some extra lights.
right. But what I was getting at is if you needed overhead, you need some wash, right? You need some fill. You could do it from the sides, or like I said, you can kind of butterfly off that grip.
Yeah. Anyway, the whole thing on the top is really nice.
Hmm.
At first, I had like a tripod on my desk, which is not great because it took up so much space.
And I looked at it, I was like, you're angling down and you need to track it out, like 2 feet and it needs to be, 90 degrees down. And then you were like, and then you bought this pretty
Well, it was
dope
already on my to
overhead.
buy list, so you know.
Yeah.
But like
The
I
way
didn't know
I
which ones I was gonna get, so
the
I had like
way I
four.
handled it, I found I think I talked about it before, the Silk, SLIK. Um I bought something that's kind of like that. It's meant to sort of mount to a table and be sort of so what I did instead is when I redid my setup, I just uh thought about the poles because they have extra height and I got extra poles, and then I extended up the height, and then I got one of those sort of arms where I don't really, it doesn't need to be like perfectly like all three axes on it, right? It just needs to, for me to be able to swing it out. And I got a particular video conferencing um, camera that has HMI out on it. And then I take that and I run that into the switcher so I can do the overhead shot pretty nicely. And because the environment is kind of well lit anyways, right? So it works out really well. But I haven't really had a position where I use it yet. So this is my cramped desk environment right now. So I don't know. When I get my own space, maybe I'll take some of these tables that I have down here because I won't need them as much anymore, and I'll set up something like what you're doing now.
Yeah.
Prevent myself from buying one of those overhead, mounts.
Yep. Well, it's gonna be mostly me just doing electronic stuff, building things, making things. I don't know where I'm gonna stream yet because I've not figured that one out. I'm looking at Twitch. I'm looking at YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
Perhaps on Picardo, but there's not many people there, so that kind of makes no sense to do that. So it's probably going to be Twitch
Mm.
because they do have a
Okay.
maker section,
Right.
like DIY stuff, and that's probably a good place for me to be, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna start with like taking apart electronics and stuff, see what I can do, see if I can figure out why something is broken. I'm not super experienced with that stuff, so I'm like I'm not an example of how to do things. I'm just more of like I just want to figure out how something works, I guess. See if I can fix it. Um, yeah, I've got some broken hardware that I can play with, so yeah, got a big collection of broken hardware.
Yeah, me too. Old gear.
Yeah.
You got to find a way to get rid of it.
Yep. So yeah, I guess that's it for me for the topics. Do you have anything else?
Not particularly. The house thing is sort of an active effort on my part, and I need to sort of just need to have some time to set up the next phase of things, and I need to do it faster rather than never because the market is sort of bubbling. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay. So let's go through the fun stuff, the links.
yeah.
So the first one I have is Starcadian Satellites, Polymatic link slash 130, and that's a it's pretty good music. There's more music on his Spotify stuff, and I don't think I've linked that, but I think this is like a video for one of his new tracks.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting.
Yep, I
Yeah,
like it. There's
yeah.
there's some pretty good. There's an album which is it looks like it's some movie soundtrack, but it really isn't. So I don't think I've seen what movie this is for. So anyway, so Polymatic link slash 130.
Hmm. So this guy on TikTok basically he kind of sniffs the a lot of IoT devices, and he did a bunch of Hue bulbs and connected bulbs and stuff like that, and he sort of gives a rating at the end of the day, um, you know, what's going on, right? What's happening there. So, in fact, I even saw another one which I didn't list here, but this one I think was related to those connected bulbs. Polymatic.link/137. I think I'm following the guy, but his stuff pops up, for me every once in a while, and it's interesting, right? If you kind of go through and sniff the hardware of all the devices, what's actually happening.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. I don't know if I've linked this one before or if you linked it before. I think I sent it to you
I mean,
directly
I
at
know
some
the
point.
song. I know
Yeah.
who the artist is. Yeah.
Yeah.
I also
So
know what the actual story is by how she came up with it, not the one that they're pitching to the world.
okay.
I couldn't
So
find that particular link for you. I was going to send that to you.
okay. So Gail ABCDEFU.
Yeah,
Polymatic link slash 131.
yeah. I mean, it's a good song, and it's sort of a start of her career.
And it's kind of
I would
catchy.
Yeah, it is catchy, yeah. So that's why I sort of stacked on. So this is sort of all right. So I have really three links here. The first one is going to the official video you can find on YouTube, and I'll give that to you in a second. And the other two is how I discovered this artist. What he's been doing is he takes sort of a laptop and a microphone and headphones, right? And no one in the environment that he's in can hear what he's hearing, and he sits here and he sings like a lyric line or something in the middle of an odd space, right? And so I wanted to share those two videos as well, so you can get the context. And then I went and I checked out the artist and some of the other songs, and I bought a bunch of singles from him. And I kind of like his vibe. I like what he's doing, and I like the music. And I've been enjoying listening to some of the newer singles, literally even as of yesterday. So Nick D, the song is Icy Pop. He's got a whole bunch more. He had a whole album. I guess he's got enough singles he could probably just release another album. But sort of the viral nature of him is these three links. So the video is polymatic.link/134, and two of the TikToks, 135 and 136. And he does other songs like this as well on his TikTok.
Okay. So next one is kind of relevant to the earlier discussion about Gumroad. Fabien Botticher he's like the creator of Symfony. That's the framework for PHP. So he did a talk about let's create a blockchain with PHP. So on PHP Day 2018. So Polymatic link slash 132 for that, and it goes into like what is a blockchain, how does it work, that kind of stuff. So
Mm-hmm.
and gossip
So, so
networks and stuff like that. So it's pretty interesting. Polymatic link slash 132.
it's a very long video.
Yep, but like if you know PHP, then it's a bit easier to follow along. But
Yeah.
like it just goes into the concepts, not specifically PHP, but like
So, a thing that happens on TikTok, there's a bunch of people who are trying to be informative, right? Usually, there's like one person who's naturally actually informative, and that's who they are, and that's the thing they make. And then there are people trying to do copycats. So this guy, I think, is more of like a copycat, sort of owning, sort of copying the format. But he had something pretty interesting about Bluetooth.
uh huh.
Um, Polymatic.link/138. That will likely take you to TikTok. It's not that long.
Yep, it does. So I have the next one, which is Herald Bluetooth and your phone. Polymatic.link/13A, and that's Tom Scott, who did this like 3-4 years ago.
Oh, really? Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. And then maybe I saw this before, so I'll watch that. And maybe I've seen the video in the past, but and for all we know, that's where the guy got the info from.
Oh, probably. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of these people are just sort of,
They're
I mean,
recycling information.
right, recyclers, or they reaction. Like sometimes the reaction isn't. It's like a cheap way of sort of um, tacking onto someone's virality, and you do a duet and you just watch the original video, and you see people, good looking individual respond or give an overreaction, and it gives them views and makes them money. It's kind of like a slimy thing, and sometimes you get good results from it,
Mm.
but yeah, I look at this and I'm like, yeah, I'm not sure this person really has like a well-formed, calculated thought about what they're doing here, but they are they are regurgitating someone else's other information. So
Mm. Because it's Polymatic.link/13A for Tom Scott and 138
eight,
for the other guy.
yeah, okay. So this one I thought was funny. It was random. I think it's from like a BBC show.
Yeah.
Again, this is like another example where someone's repurposing someone else's content. But it's a little snippet, and I thought it was kind of fun. Polymatic.link/139. I just labeled as ring a random Swede.
Yep. I've got another long video, fully homemade lathe. It's 5 months of work in 33 minutes. Polymatic.link/133.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was pretty. It's a big project, but it looks so nice to do something like that. But it's not very
Yeah.
stable from what I could see. So maybe I've been looking at getting like a tiny lathe, like a small lathe, to do some projects with. But I'm like, yeah, if I do that, then my neighbors are going to complain about me. So yeah.
In your apartment, no less.
Yeah. Also, I've got another video. Nal Green. If Nal Red was bad at chemistry, Polymatic.link/13B.
Okay. Wow.
You should really watch this. He was so there's a podcast called Safety Third, and they had the guy that does Nal Green. So there's Nal Red, which is Nigel something or other, and he has a chemistry channel, Nal Red and Nal Blue, and Nal Blue is more of like the shorts stuff, and then Nal Red is more of the longer, like hour-long
Right, that's the
chemistry
one
videos.
I'm familiar with. Yeah.
And then there's a guy that trained an AI to do the voice of that guy. So and he made chemistry videos, but really bad chemistry videos. So yeah, it's pretty funny. And then he came on that podcast where Nal Red is on, which is kind of funny. So yeah, that was Polymatic.link/13B. It's very, very entertaining, very worth watching.
Okay.
If you know Nal Red, that is.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm not going to ask you where they can find you because I have got a link for that. So Alan, you can find Alan on Polymatic.link/Alan, and you can find me on Polymatic.link/John. For feedback, you can reach us at podcast@Polymatic.media. Our Twitter is the Polymatic. Our website is Polymatic.media. I hope you tune in next time.